Hi everyone, Rob Cottingham here. A little while ago I did a speechwriter training with just a terrific group of communications professionals, and one of them has just sent me 3 really good questions. And I thought I'd share them with you along with some of my thoughts. I'd love to know yours too. So here's Renee's first question. If you have a suite of materials to prepare on a new topic, like a speech, an article, and a slide presentation, which would you do first? That is a cool question, and it comes up a lot. It probably goes without saying that if one of those has a really crushing deadline, that's the one that goes first. But that said, I'd say whichever is shorter between the speech and the article, and usually that's the article, especially if it's an op-ed, that's what I'd do first. And here's why. Shortness imposes a kind of discipline. It imposes message clarity. You don't have a lot of time, so you want to get right to the point. And that really helps me think through the central argument and narrative that can then guide me when I'm writing the longer piece. The slide presentation I never do first. The slide presentation should support the speech. It's supplementary. Now, I will sometimes make notes about slides if ideas come up for me as I'm writing the speech, but it's very much, Word before PowerPoint. And that brings us to Renee's second question, which was, how should slides supplement a speech? Should you always have slides? And taking that second question first, no. I see slides being used much more often than they really need to be. And the problem with slides, one of the many problems with them, is they take the focus off you. You want to make a connection with the audience. And when you get something up on a screen next to you and it's bright and it's colorful, it's a distraction from you, and your audience now has to divide their attention. So with that in mind, when I do use slides, I use them for 4 things: signposting, information, mental scaffolding, and emotional texture. Now, signposting is just reminding people of where they are in a speech. If I'd said there are going to be 5 points, then here's point number 4. It's those little navigational cues that can be really important, first of all, for people to absorb the information and fit it into structures, which we'll talk about in a sec, but also just sitting passively listening to a speech isn't always the most enjoyable experience. And sometimes you have other pressing things. You want to be able to get up. You may have to go to the bathroom. You want to know how much longer this is going to take, even if it's going really well. Well, those navigational cues can help you with that. Information, which is the way that classically slides are used. This is things like charts and text, bullet points. Ooh. Yes, I do use it for that, but they're simple charts. And the illustrations are also fairly simple, and they get a single point across. And when I'm using text prompts, I'm using short text prompts. Those bullets are mainly used to help people start retaining the information that I'm giving them and fit it into a framework. And that's the third way that I use it, which is scaffolding, mental scaffolding. You're giving people a way to organize what it is that you're telling them. And that can help with retention. It can help with the logical progression of your narrative towards your call to action. And with the right visuals, you can help to anchor that framework in your audience's minds. And the fourth thing is emotional tone. A visual really can deliver an added emotional heft to your speech. It could be a wrenching photograph. It could just be a calming design element. The important thing is that it's supplementary. You are not relying on your slides for the emotional impact of your speech. And by the way, never be afraid to go to a black screen for a while during your speech. If there is nothing that really does any work up there that you could be putting on the screen, and when you want all attention on you, particularly during a critical part of your speech, you may want to consider that. Long story short, every slide should carry its weight, and it should be in a pitched battle against not having slides at all. And if it can't win that battle, the slide shouldn't be up there. And then the third question is, should you always do a speech? Is it always the right format for giving information? And I love this question because it's something you should ask about every communications vehicle and tactic. Your goal isn't to give a speech. Your goal isn't to create a radio ad. Your goal is to deliver the right message to the right audience in the most effective way, period. And if a speech is the right way to do that, that's great. If a blog post is the right way to do it, that's great. If it's Twitter, if it's an ad, if it's something in your annual report, what have you. A few questions I like to think about. First of all, is there a lot of information, kind of raw information to deliver? That may signal that you want to create a blog post or a white paper or an infographic. Is this speech going to be worth your speaker's time and attention? Speeches can take up a lot of it. The writing, the preparation, redrafting, and then, of course, going to an event, delivering the speech, doing the social niceties, and coming back to it. It may well be that all of that is worthwhile. It may be that those social niceties are building important emotional connection. And if that's the case, then yes, by all means, let's do this. But if the message in this audience doesn't rank that high in your organization's priorities, then I wouldn't do it. Leadership communications are strategic in nature because the time and attention of your leaders are strategic assets, and you want to use them judiciously. By the way, a few other reasons you might not want to go up: if the risks outweigh the benefits. If you are communicating in an adversarial space, sometimes a particular event just isn't the right one to be speaking at because the risks of it going sideways are so high. If the audience isn't ready to hear you out, if there's no way to get through to them, then putting your speaker up on stage to deliver a message to them, that may be really brave, but it may not be effective. It may not be the right call. And there may be other more effective ways to get your message to this audience. It could be an ad in the conference program, or it could be weighing in on the Twitter stream, or another online chat around this event. It could be a recorded message. It could be a leaflet in the swag bag if we ever get back to using those again. I kind of hope we don't. But if there is an emotional, personal connection that's really important for your speaker to make to this audience, then that weighs heavily in favor of doing the speech. Thanks a bunch for that question, Renee. Very much appreciated. And everyone else, if you have any speech writing or speaking questions, please drop me a line. I'm rob@robcottingham.ca. Thanks a bunch, and talk with you soon.